Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's time. It's time. It's time for the Monday stream. That's what time it is. You're like, what time? What time? What time is it? Vader time? No. It's time for the Monday stream here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. And my levels are a little out of whack here on the microphone for some reason. There we go. I think that's good. That's better. Okay. Now I can hear myself talk. How in the bloody blue blazes is everyone today? How is everyone? Welcome. It is the first stream of the week. It is a Monday. I hope you all had a tolerable one. Dare I say a good one? I think we're gonna, keep the bar low. Keep the bar low. Then you'll only be surprised. Then it'll only be good news. And I hope on top of that you had an even better weekend. I hope you had a lovely, lovely weekend. I did. I'm a little chipper, feeling pretty good, feeling pretty happy. The weather is turning here in Quebec City. We have been slowly, but clearly, been transitioning into the fall weather, and that makes me tremendously happy. That is the one thing right now that is just like illuminating my days. When I wake up in the morning and it's 9 degrees outside, 9 Celsius, don't panic. Fahrenheit heads. Instead of waking up and then it already being 20 degrees and humid and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, And it's like 9. You got to put on your hoodie to go outside. You got to wear a shirt. You got to put your shirts on. You're like, it's not, in the home. It's not too, it's not cold enough where you're like, oh, well, t-shirts might be a little rough. You need to layer up, right? Not that bad. Get a nice, light shirt on and you're like, this is nice. This is my favorite time of year that's on the way. It's effectively arrived, quite honestly. So I'm excited about that. So it's putting your boy Warren in a good mood. It's putting Warren in a good mood. Between that and a couple of excellent all-timer matches this weekend, I'm like, all right, cool. Wrestling can still be saved. Wrestling can still be saved. But I also, as I typically do over the weekends, I indulge in some films. Got around to watching the Buffet Infinity. I don't know if anyone has heard about that one going around. It's got a little bit of buzz. Got a little bit of buzz buzzing around the Buffet Infinity. Interesting film. It's essentially a horror movie, but there's comedy elements to it. What it is essentially is you're going through this narrative of this small town in Alberta, Canada, and but it's all through the commercials. So you're getting to understand what's happening in this local community exclusively through the commercials that are happening on television. The characters and everything, they're all people in commercials. They star in commercials and so on and so forth. And that's essentially it. And, kind of flipping through commercials, flipping through stations and whatnot. So you get a sort of a feel of what's going on in the community. And I thought that was very, very clever. I thought it was a very clever premise, and I watched it and I enjoyed it. I thought it was very, very good. I thought it was very funny. And quietly distressing at the same time. With some good whatchamacallit there, social commentary. What's the word again? Social commentary. So yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised by it. I thought it was it combined the right amount of goofy and things to make you intrigue. The storytelling is very, very interesting how they approach it. It could have been a very mundane story, but told through commercials, I thought was very interesting. So so there you go. So that I watched that, and I rewatched 7. I hadn't seen 7 in years. Yes, that's 7. What's in the box? Yes, I rewatched that because I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I was like, I like that film. So I rewatched it. What do you want from me? And I think it still holds up great, but it also, like, you can see then the foundations for every like serial killer, crazed, psychotic, film moving forward. Like it's the foundation of it all, right? The monologue from John Doe in the car is like the basis of every serial killer moving on, a movie moving forward after that. Fantastic film. Morgan Freeman is so cool. He is so cool. Like, he is so incredibly good. There are just little things in this movie where he's like absolutely genius. So that's it. And then I watched a bit of wrestling. I watched a bit of wrestling. But hey, how are you all doing, chat, today? It is nice to see all of your beautiful faces. Hey, Lady Layton, nice to see you. Welcome back. It has been a while. It is lovely to have you back with us. Meggie O'Kenna, it's, we see you often, but it's still lovely to have you. Meggie, great to see you, in fact. Meggie happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel on top of that. Jay Luthi as well as a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, and he's here too. Good to see you. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, not enough commercials, right? There definitely should be some some synergy with dude wipes. There really needs some synergy with the dude wipes over there in AEW. It would make the product so much better. Carlos, how are you, brother? Welcome to the chat. Sports and Things Shows. Nice to see you. I still need to see Coyote versus Acme. I think I'm gonna go see that this weekend. I think I'm gonna go. I feel like it's a movie that speaks to me, like growing up and whatnot. Out of all the Looney Tunes, the Roadrunner cartoons were my favorite. And I understood the gimmick, and that the Coyote would always eat shit. Like, I understood the gimmick very young. And the formula, and I was into it. I loved it. So I always loved the Roadrunner stuff. So, oh shit, what's his name? The main actor. This is dumb that I'm drawing a blank here. Like, all I'm thinking about is Will, and I'm thinking Will Grello, but that's a name of a character he had in Tim and Eric, and that's not it. Forte. Will Forte, he's tremendous. Like, he's a really funny guy. I like him a lot. So yeah, I'm probably gonna go check that out this weekend. So that should be fun. Buffet Affinity, the Simon Glassman joint. Yes, Simon Glassman, a comedian that I don't find funny. As far as the stand-up goes. Like, it's a guy that I'll see his stuff scroll by, and I'll listen to his jokes, and I'm like, man, this guy is so incredibly basic. So when it's Kristen who got me Buffet Infinity on my radar, and says, oh, it's some Canadian comedian called Simon Glassman. I'm like, oh, really? Oh, that's a shame. I was like, that doesn't sound, that guy's not funny. I don't think he's funny. I mean, he can put together a decent film. I thought it was good, and I thought it was funny on top of that. Mr. Antox, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Warren, do a post PvP stream? Nah, I did my review. It's all in the can, brother. It's out there. It's for members only right now. You want to get onto that, you become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. It's been up there since yesterday. Wonder if Mr. Warren Hayes saw Rubber and what his thoughts were of it. I know of Rubber. I have not seen the film. I didn't realize that was a Simon Glassman joint. I did not realize. Maybe I should watch it now. Maybe I can get Kristen to watch it, because I think she was the one who was like, I'm not sure I want to watch that. And it's the kind of thing, like, I don't want to watch it on my own. It's like if I'm gonna sit down, I'm not gonna watch that kind of dopey movie. I'd rather watch it with someone, It amazes me how much the Batman 2024 ripped off 7. I had never thought of that. But listen, 7's like the granddaddy of them all. I mean, if you're going to emulate, if you're going to borrow from, inspiration and things, I mean, you might as well do it with the best, right? You might as well go after the top of the notch, essentially. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Same to you, Rory Starks. Good to have you both. Mr. Warren Hayes, I've gone through your show archives to the period when you would take callers. It blew my mind. That was fun. And, I'd do it again. Because it wasn't even like I'd take callers. Like, there were a couple of people that I was like, look, here's my here's the channel, here's the voice channel that I'm going to be in during the show. So if you guys want to come in and you want to talk about something, just hop right in, type of thing. But then I haven't done it in a while because now the streams are very important to the constituency of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast. So let's say I get Fred on, Fred Moreland, right? From Good, the Bad, the Hungry podcast. If Fred comes on and he starts talking about bullshit for 30 minutes before we actually get into something, I'm running out of topics to put on the podcast, on the wrestling podcast. We might talk about, weird things happening in Kentucky, but then I'm missing out on a bunch of content, of actual wrestling content for people who actually want to hear some wrestling talk. So there you go. I mean, I might do it again. I'd like to have more people. See, here's the thing is I like having guests. I haven't done guests in a substantial time, right? But I like having guests on, but I would love to have the guests on live. And some people are comfortable with that and some people are not. And it's mostly scheduling. That's mostly it, It's like, can you hop on, at some point between 7:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. on a Monday night type of thing. I can hop on for a half hour. Well, we're not going to do a full on, you know what I mean? It's, look, this is the moment where I would like a producer. Because I don't want to wrangle people. I just want to say, hey, let's get some people on, and then my paid producer would be like, yes, sir, Mr. Hayes, sir. And would go off and have my little Rolodex of people that I like to talk to. I'd like to get and I know he'd say yes, that's the thing. I'd like to get Rich Craich on from the flagship. And I know he'd say yes. But the thing is if I told him, well, it's got to be in the evenings, and he's probably going to go, nah. I've got a child now, Warren. I've got an actual baby. I work a full days. We should try to find a schedule where we can plop that in. And then I'm like, here's my full thought process. And then I'm like, well, what if I just did that? what if I like record things with people and then play them on stream? And I'm like, that kind of defeats the purpose of the live stream, right? And then I'm like, do we have to do it on live stream, period? Why can't I record it on the side then and make it available for members of the channel? And then eventually add it to the podcast. I'm like, oh, that's not a bad idea too, Warren. You see, like, you know, it's just like, it's a question of me overthinking changes that I'd like to do. Me changing something as far as the podcast goes, it takes a while. I have to think about it. I have to mull. And then one day, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to like, okay, we're doing this change. Okay, now we're doing this. You know, like doing the this thing here, the overlay that I have right now, right? I had been thinking for a while, I was like, maybe I should change the overlay. Maybe I need to do something a little different, you know? Then one day I woke up and it's like, okay, that's it. We're changing it today. That's it. We're done. And not because I wasn't necessarily angry. I wasn't necessarily mad. I was just like, okay, now we're doing it today. It's just like, that's how my brain operates. I have to think about stuff. And then eventually be like, okay, let's get some guests on. Let's get Rich Craig. Let's get Jesse Collins. Let's get Trish and Sarah back on. Let's get who else? Mike Gilbert. He's been on the podcast before. I like Mike. Who else should we get on? Fred, I guess. I hope you're listening, Fred. We should get Fred Moreland back on too. I could try to get Joe Lanza back on. He came on that one time when we talked about the Jericho Vortex. Still one of the best shows, coming out of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. We went through. We basically went through every opponent that Jericho had ever feuded with, I should say, in AEW, and determined whether they were better off or not having wrestled him at that particular stage, because everyone was like, oh, no one was very, very well thought out, very, very informative. It was good. So there's my creative process for you. A lot of thinking, a lot of pondering. I'm a captain of a ship that takes a long time to turn. Even though it's like, it's a one-man craft. It's just like a little canoe. Still, like, I'm gonna take my making that starboard turn takes a while. JD, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. It is lovely to see you. I go Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah, that's fun. I do that with my when I'm talking to my mother or my elderly aunts. And I talk about Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they get a good laugh out about it because they know I'm making fun of them, because that's what they say, because they're from that generation. They're like these old Irish ladies. I'll see you on Thursday. So I make a little fun. I poke a little fun at them. And they all know it's in jest. And so does my mother. Makes them laugh. Mr. Warren Hayes transforming the show into the Rich Hishins show. By the way, Rich is 2 hours behind you, so scheduling would be easier. Oh, you'd think. You would think. Hey, Sturi! C'est bien le Sturi? Hey, ça va bien, l'ami? Je suis content de te voir. Got our boy Sturi, who is the biggest French wrestling influencer in France. And it's been a while since I've chatted with him. It's so nice. Ben oui, ça va bien. Ça va très bien. Je suis content d'avoir de tes nouvelles. Faudrait qu'on se voit bien prochainement. Faudrait faire quelque chose, non? Je te remercie de passer. C'est bien aimable, cher ami. And you just say Thursdays and whatnot, and it's really funny. It's really funny. All right. What are we doing? Should we talk about pro wrestling tonight? I don't know if is there anything really to talk about. Well, hey, before we get into all of that, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, in case you're coming in here and you're like rubbing your hands together and you're going, Warren's gonna give us the old, he's gonna give us the old All In review, All In London review. I said, no, I'm not, because I already recorded it. I recorded it yesterday evening. Oui, on se revoit bientôt. On se revoit bientôt, cher ami. So I did everything, recorded it yesterday. It's all in the can. It's available right now for members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. So if you're really excited to hear me shit on this show, that's unfair. That's just that would just be clickbait. I can't do that in good. Could you imagine, like, if I'm going out there and saying, okay, my review is paywalled and I hated everything about the show. If you want to hear how terrible it was, join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. You got to pay me to listen to me shit on All In, and then you turn it on. It's like, no, this is actually a very positive review. What the fuck? Like, that would be incredibly dishonest. I couldn't do that. It's just not in my nature. Or is it? Look, at the very least, I'm not doing it now. It's a good review. It's a good review. I will say this. As much as I enjoyed the last two matches of the show, they were absolutely prime. As much as I loved those two last matches, I thought the rest of the show was good. And I definitely didn't think it was as great as a lot of other people say it was. And maybe some of you right now are going, no, this was one of the all-time great pay-per-views. Because I get the impression, now that I've listened to people review it, now that you try to stay away from some stuff, in the meantime, you don't want to get tainted with other people's opinions and whatnot. So, but now that I've read to some people's thoughts, I feel like everyone who has been praising the show has been praising it on the idea that it wasn't interminably long like a typical AEW pay-per-view will be. And then I'm like, I don't understand. Like, it was a 6-hour show nonetheless. Wasn't it like 6 hours? If you add in the pre-show, let's say the pre-show started at 11 a.m. Eastern, finished at a little past around 5 o'clock, right? And that's a 6-hour show, And I'm sitting there going, whoa, what was so different this time? Look, I did point out on the review that I thought that the show flowed really, really well, and there were no unnecessary matches, which is often a blight on AEW pay-per-views, where suddenly you've got a couple of matches there that you're just like, well, this could have been on Collision, or this could have been a WWE 2K mod. I really don't understand, And I feel like a lot of the people have been calling this as a great pay-per-view, one of the best pay-per-views of the year. I'm like, if you want to make the argument that the last two matches really carried the show, and you're like this, like, outstanding all-timer matches, I'm like, okay, I can get behind it. But if your argument is, well, this show was great because everything just went straight to the point and we weren't overwhelmed with 11 matches, I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, that part I don't understand. It's like, like, for me, Double or Nothing this year is a much better overall pay-per-view than this. Like, that is an all-time great pay-per-view. Revolution 2024 Revolution 2024, all-time great pay-per-view. I mean, I'm not poo-pooing on things, but it's like, I'm not trying to say that this show was bad. I didn't like it as much as other people did. And that's, it's fine if people didn't like it as much as I did, or liked it more than I did. That doesn't bother me. It's just that, like, the reasoning oftentimes behind it, I'm like, I don't quite get you. And yes, it was a flow. It was a match that, a card that flowed really, really well, and it was really, really interesting. And I'm like, the calls of greatness. I was like, we've had better pay-per-views than this. We've had pay-per-views with like 5 4-star plus matches on it, and we're all jumping up and down. We're saying this is the greatest pay-per-view of all time. I don't know. Like, anyway, I'm not selling. This isn't necessarily what I talk about in the review. This is like an addendum to my review. This is like a postscript. I'm giving you the postscript before most of you got the chance to listen to the actual review, which is it's typical Warren Hayes behavior too, to be quite, if we're being honest with each other here. So what you're going to have to do then is, when you listen to the review, you're going to have to come back to listen to this, and then you'll be able to connect the dots and go, oh, I understand what he means now. I mean, but it wasn't a bad show. It was a good show. I enjoyed this show, but definitely not on the level that other people did. That a lot of people did. I wouldn't call this one of my. But then at the same time, like, there's people who make a very interesting distinction, and they say, some people say this is my favorite pay-per-view of the year, as opposed to them saying this is the best pay-per-view of the year or one of the best pay-per-views of the year. They're saying this is my favorite of the year. And that's a distinction that I can appreciate, because then, like, very, very personal minutia comes into play for their thought process. And because you can look, we all enjoy things that we know, some, like, whatever it is, whether it's in wrestling, it's in, television, movies, music, books, and whatever. There's always something that really speaks to us that we really like, but is not like it considered an all-time classic. I love, one of my favorite books of all time is Leonard Cohen's Beautiful Losers, but it is like, it's not Shakespeare, it's not Hemingway, it's not one of these literary heavyweight books, but it's a book that I read and I was like, ooh, holy cow, It was, you just pick it up, you can't stop reading, and it's excellent, and it speaks to you, and it's still a book I think about, once a month at the very least, despite the fact me having read it like 30 years ago at this point. So, it's like, there's that's the idea, is that, I can understand that it's not, I can understand why it's not considered a literary classic or one of the all-time great books, but I can also consider, but it's one of my favorite books nonetheless. So, that's a great way to approach it. And I think what a lot of people are trying to say is that this is my favorite pay-per-view of the year for very personal reasons, but, or maybe using the great a little too much. I don't know. Look, there's been so many takes regarding All In, regardless. Hey, the Workers Club podcast is here. How you doing? Welcome to the chat. I don't know if you guys and gals and non-binary pals are aware, but they talk about books. They talk about wrestling books specifically, and I don't want to dox anyone, because I I don't want to dox. I'm not, because I know who you are. We've chatted offline, and it's tremendous. And I highly suggest you give them a follow on social media. You check out their stuff. Nice, good, solid people. How about that? And that's what we need more in life. Good, solid people. We all need some solid people. Anyway, it's nice of you to drop by. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Always seems to be recency bias, where if a main event is fantastic, the whole event surely was equally great. I mean, it's also like, it's also like it's showbiz logic, right? You leave them wanting more. So, so that when you leave, you've got this great feeling in your tummy, and you're like, yeah, this was excellent. I want to see more of this. So, it makes sense. You want to end the show on a high note. How many times have we watched a pay-per-view finish with a from particular company with the main event just like shitting the bed, and you leave and you got a very sour taste in your mouth, and you're like, okay, well that taints the whole thing. Even though you had maybe a couple of matches on the show, you're like, oh, these were absolutely great. These are absolutely great. There were some absolutely great matches on this card, but they're all going to be forgotten because the main event stunk. So it goes the other way too. There's folks with no levels of quality. If they think something is 10 out of 10, then anyone saying anything below is seemingly a negative. No, but that's a problem in general, right? We've talked about it here multiple times. That's a problem in general. It's the Yelp effect, where you have to give 5 stars to your favorite restaurant. I did that spiel not that long ago. I'm not doing it again. But you have to give it 5 stars because it's the ratings that people look at first and foremost. Even though if you gave it a 4-star review, it would still be, a great glowing review. But no, you got to give it 5 stars because that's how that's how it subsides. That's how it survives. And then you've got people who make whatever thing they like their own identity, so they can't stand that people don't like things on their same level, or who critique the thing that they like, that they made their identity into, because then it's a poor reflection on them, right? If you made a choice to like a thing and another person starts saying bad things about the thing, it's like, oh, well, this is an affront to me, where it really is not, and you should be, grown up enough, considering that person is a grown up, right? You never quite know on social media. It could be children. You never know. And most of the time we're like, oh, these are probably kids. But then you turn around and then somehow you find out that no, these are grown ass adults who have jobs and pay taxes. You're like, what the fuck? Like, grow up. That's what you want to tell them. It's like, it's just, stop it. Don't do that. Yeah. What were we talking about? 10 out of 10s being the only thing acceptable. Yeah, we have to normalize. We have to normalize a 3.5 star match being a great rating, and just going, hey, 3.5 stars, that's tremendous, right? We have to normalize that. We have to stop being worried about that kind of stuff. Those are reference points. They're discussion openers. That's what they are. I do not care that Dave Meltzer didn't review Mercedes Moné versus Maya World. In fact, I kind of hope he never does at this point. Now, I hope he passes on this mortal coil without ever reviewing it. Not because I have this thing against Mercedes Moné and Maya World. If you listen to this podcast long enough, you understand that I enjoy both of those wrestlers. It's just because it's really funny now, and at this point, just make your haters upset because they're not going to be happy regardless. Like it's like I am ready to bet $20, 20 Canadian rubber bucks with anyone. I bet that Dave Meltzer will give will give Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale 4 3/4 stars. I am convinced that that's what he's going to do. Unless deflation is real, but I'm convinced that's what he's going to do, and it's going to get people upset. And he's not necessarily going to do it to make people upset, because that's what he's going to see. Anyway, we're going down a whole other path here that I don't necessarily want to go on. It is Wilson. Okay, Wilson. I mean, I know we've chatted Wilson, so I didn't. I respect people's privacy. You come in, you have a dopey username, and I'm going to use your dopey username. Like AEW1. That's what I. No, Travis doxed himself. It's fine. How you doing, Travis? No, but you just be careful, and you got to be careful of this stuff. You don't want to throw out the names there, and the internet's a weird place now. My child cried during the Willow Moné match when Moné attacked Willow's hand. Does that make the pay-per-view good or bad? I think that makes it excellent. I'm assuming your child is old enough to understand what was going on. Great heel work. I love that spot. Oh God, I love that spot. It was so good. The most relevant ref bump I have seen, and I talk about this in the review. Here's a little tidbit for you who haven't listened. My child is 26. Okay, well there you go. So we really got. It's not a 10-year-old. It's not a 5-year-old. It's a 20. There you go. The cool thing is, like, ref bumps are completely overdone, right? Like the ref bumps all over the place, and sometimes, like me, they annoy me. But this was the most relevant ref bump I have seen in a wrestling match in a long time, because Mercedes, before the ref bump, was trying to take the cast off of whatever the gimmick off of Willow's wrist, and Ref Aubrey came in and said, cut that shit out. You're not doing this, right? And then the ref bump happens. So what does Mercedes do? Instead of going to run for the title belt or bring in some chairs and the usual stuff, she drags her to the floor. She drags Willow to the floor, and then immediately goes for the cast. And I'm like, this rules. This is exactly it. That's a perfect fucking use of the ref bump trope in pro wrestling. But it could, 9 times out of 10, they would have brought in the chairs. They would have, done belt shots and, low blows, all the usual tropes. But no, like this worked perfectly in the psychology of this match. I thought it was tremendous. AEW has forced me to revamp my pay-per-view rating scale. There was a time I would have said SummerSlam 2002 was a 10 out of 10 pay-per-view, which most AEW pay-per-views beat in a walk at this point. I mean, it's always the same thing, right? It's like the more you I hate using the word consume, but it's just like the broadest. It's the broadest term I can use here, just because whether again wrestling, art in any form, food, the more you expose yourself to different things, you create a larger purview for yourself. Your frame of reference grows, so then you don't just stay in the one box. You expand because you're able to place it in a grander scheme. It's like people who only watch Marvel movies or superhero movies, and they're and they go, I don't know, Fantastic Four, that was a 10 out of 10 movie. And you're like, no, it was not a 10 out of 10 movie. But you only watch Marvel movies. It was not like, this was not a perfect film in any way, shape, or form. That's why, it's like people who only read, young adult literature. And again, I'm not disparaging. You know, there's tremendous amounts of great YA lit out there. But then, you know, this is one of the greatest books of all time. Let's add in all the Hunger Games, right? I mean, it's a nice little adventure book. Don't get me wrong. It's well written. Suzanne Collins can write. You know, and it's a good idea, and it's dramatic, and it's, you know, well paced. It's paced like a movie. No wonder, you know, she, you know, and then, but you know, it's not a great piece of art. You know, we're not gonna remember. We're not going to remember Suzanne Collins on the same level that we remember, you know, Ernest Hemingway or Robert Frost or Emily Bronte or, you know, so on and so forth. Maya Angelou. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, you know, you have to read those things too. And everything can be a good entry level. Everything. There's a lot of things that can just be a good entry level to bigger, better things. You just have to break yourself out of your box. You have to have a little intellectual curiosity for that stuff to happen. Anyway, here I am moralizing. Anyway, the pay-per-view is available right, not the pay-per-view, but the review of the pay-per-view is available right now on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel for members first. And do become a member. Show a little support. That would be tremendous. Also, leave a like on the stream here. That would also be astounding and appreciative. Oh, and Kristen Ashley is here. How you doing, darling? Welcome to the chat. Kristen also happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. It all goes together. It's all tremendous. Suzanne Collins was the senator of Maine when she wrote the Hunger Games. She was writing what she wanted the states to be. I mean, didn't Donald Trump do that? Didn't he have his Freedom Games where he said, we'll get the best young, physically fit athletes to compete? And I'm like, and everyone immediately went up. These are the Hunger Games. This is how it starts. Didn't he do that? And no one cared, like no one paid attention. Okay, but can we agree the Dungeon Crawler Carl books Dog Walk Lord of the Rings? I'll be completely straightforward. I am not familiar with the Dungeon Crawler Carl. Is that a real thing? That is actually a real thing. It's a science fiction lit RPG book series written by Matt Dinneman, self-published and was acquired by Ace Books. Good for him. The series follows Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, two of the few survivors of the mining, transporting, processing, and consumption of Earth's resources by an alien corporation, as they are forced to compete in a dungeon crawl recreated from those resources for an intergalactic reality show program. 8 books! The 8th was released in May 2026 with plans to complete the series with one additional volume split across 2 books. But what's the gimmick? What is lit RPG? Does that mean part of it's a game? I'm discovering new things here. It's short for literary role-playing games. It's a literary genre combining the conventions of computer RPGs with science fiction fantasy novels. The term was introduced in 2013. So there's game-like elements that form an essential part of the story, and visible RPG statistics, strength, intelligence, damage, are a significant part of the reading experience. This distinguishes the genre from novels that tie in with the game, like those set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Books that are actual games, such as Choose Your Own Adventure, fighting fantasy type publication, or games that are literally described like MUDs. Christ, I haven't heard MUDs in a long time. I haven't heard that in a while. And interactive fiction. Okay, so it's not a game, but it harkens back to all of the elements that do make it a game. Okay, I see. Very interesting. Ready Player One stinks. Is that a hot take? No, I agree. I don't think it. I never thought it was all that great, quite frankly. I didn't know if they're actually good, but I'm really enjoying them on book 4. Well, good for Mark Dinneman, if he was able to make a career out of it, and now he's probably getting paid to make the books, and some literary agent is trying to push that into to Netflix or Amazon or a bigger studio. Mark Dinneman's he's gonna get the bag at some point, and good for him, especially if he was self-published. Congrats to him. Did I go through everything? Dynamite reviews coming up this Thursday, per usual, here on the channel, here on your favorite podcast application. Mr. Warren Hayes Show will be coming out on your favorite podcast application on Wednesday. If you are not a member of the show, that's probably where the review will drop for all of you plebeians. That's about it. I think I've covered all the nuts and bolts. Oh, my Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor 2026 review was released on Friday. It's for the coldest takes ever. Full week after it was released. Yeah. So you can go check that out, and I think that's pretty much it. I think I've covered all of the major points here. I think I've covered all of the major points. Why don't we start? Why don't we officially kick off the festivities then? I think that would be I think it would be very apropos if we really did get everything going here. Doesn't want to go full screen. Why don't you want to go full screen? Jacques, what the fuck?
How you doing?
Jacques, you gotta go full screen. Jacques. You hit the old reload here.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Molière.
Doesn't want to go full.
Tell you a little bit about myself.
He doesn't want. Shut up, Jacques. There we go. Christ. It's like pulling teeth from a head.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Molière. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master.
He is.
NWA, Mountain State Wrestling. Hoo-yah!
Hoo-yah! Congratulations. You made it. It's Jacques. Jacques wrote a book called Hoo-yah, a nunchuck story that sold well in the YA section. That was before his memoirs, where I was my history as a mall ninja, and that was also very popular. I heard Jacques is a huge Ready Player One fan. His Marvel Rivals clan is called No. Peacock already bought the rights to a Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Is that a joke? Good for him. If it's not, if it is, well, because it's kind of funny. Peacock already bought the rights to something. It's like that. That's a joke. That sounds like a meme. Where else would you put teeth from? Kenny Omega's forearm. You can. I don't know where else you could pull teeth on. That's the expression. Pulling teeth from a head. It's like pulling teeth from a head. That's it. 'Cause it's hard. That's the point. Yeah, so All In was a good show, wasn't it? All In was pretty terrific. I think that was, I thought that was a good show. Had a pretty good main event. Wasn't bad at all, was it? So, you know, something that you can be like, oh yeah. I thankfully haven't seen much terrible takes. I saw one, but it's from a terrible take merchant. It's from someone who does this on a regular basis. That's what they do with their lives. You know, just going on the internet and rage baiting people. I'm talking about Raj Giri. And just to be clear, like I honestly think that Raj just does this shit to get engagement, and because he gets his jollies off of it, because he gets excited about it, you know. Because he didn't watch it. He didn't watch All In. He didn't watch anything. He doesn't watch anything except WWE. He doesn't watch anything except WWE. And the thing is that I believe that I would respect Raj Giri significantly more if he just came out and said, yeah, no, I'm a WWE fan. I don't watch all that much other wrestling because I don't like it. I just love WWE. I grew up watching WWE. It's part of my childhood. I've got this weird fascination for it. You know, I'll keep reminding people that I'm a millionaire, I made all sorts of money, but you know, I'll keep going online to argue with people about WWE and professional wrestling. But I have much more respect for that if he just came out and said, no, you know, stop the pretense of being someone who covers pro wrestling, who enjoys pro wrestling, right? Just break that pretense. Because the take he had that I saw today was essentially, yeah, you know, the AEW fans were applauding for everything that was going on. You could tell there was no story because people were just applauding for the athleticism and not for the story. And I'm like, motherfucker, like, you did not watch the same match I did. In fact, you didn't watch it, and you wouldn't be sitting around talking about how this match didn't have any story if you had watched, like, you know, that. So, you know, it just continuously exposes how much of a bad faith, disingenuous human being he is in this regard. Like I said, I would have so much more respect if he just fessed up, just said the truth. You know, I am a lifelong WWE fan. I am not changing my stripes. My heels are dug in, and I'm going to dislike and actively hate everything else. And just drop the pretense. Stop trying to say, but the story you see wasn't all that. No. You just don't like AEW. You just don't like it. Move on, brother. So, you know, that was thankfully pretty much all I saw. But, you know, in my group chats and whatnot, saw people talking about other stuff. Then I saw other things like apparently the biggest point of contention, the biggest thing was, for some reason, Will Ospreay kicking out of the One-Winged Angel is like the worst thing that could have happened, you know, on Earth. You know, like that to me is that's the most fascinating thing to me. Like, I don't understand. I do not understand how there's this movement of people who are going scorched earth because apparently kicking out of the One-Winged Angel is just like this sacrilege. I don't understand. And I've seen all sorts of folks trying to explain why they felt that way, trying to make some sort of sense as to why this was actually bad, you know. And I'm sitting there going, it was a perfect time to do it. Look, I understand and am behind 100% the story, like the protection of the one-winged angel as a finisher. And I understand how notable Kota Ibushi has been in that regard, right? I understand all of that stuff. But if there was ever a wrestler and a moment to have that wrestler kick out of the move, if there was ever a moment for that to happen, it was on yesterday. It was on Sunday at this pay-per-view. It was a perfect choice. And it was dramatic. You go back and you listen to this. You go back and you listen to Kenny when he drops Will with the one-winged angel. You get this swell in the audience where everyone understands what just happened. And they're all screaming. They're, get up, Will, or they're just like, no. There's a swell coming from the audience where everyone is like, oh my God. And when Will kicks out, the place bursts. Now, does that telegraph the finish a little bit? Maybe a little bit, but who cares? Especially with how that match was constructed and how it came across. It was fabulous. It was fantastic. So, I'm listening. I'm reading this stuff in the group chats, and I'm like, I don't understand. Why are people upset about this? And why are we deciding to be upset about this in a match that is ostensibly perfect? That is an absolutely excellent, high tier, top level match. I don't understand why we're choosing to be upset over one guy getting a very deserved kick out from a very protected finisher. I mean, the reasons, the explanations were just like insane. And I'm trying to piece it all together. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. Wait a minute. Now I understand. Now I get it. A lot of people who really don't like Will Ospreay. There's a lot of folks who really don't like Will Ospreay, and this is their little way of being able to get their Will hate in without outright saying, I just don't like this guy. They're just using this opportunity to mask it, to just get angry at a decision because Will Ospreay was the guy who kicked out. What if it had been Speedball Mike Bailey, universally beloved Speedball Mike Bailey, who had kicked out of the one-winged angel? Do you think people would have gotten up in arms to that degree? No. It's just people have this hate on for Will for years at this point. For, I guess there's multiple reasons. Some of which are like, yeah, I can understand. Then after that, other reasons are like, you have to get over yourself. That kind of stuff. I'm listening to this bullshit. Well, I'm not listening, but I'm reading this bullshit. And it just absolutely fascinates me that you get hand delivered an extraordinary match. And you're going to focus on one thing that is so minute in the grand scheme of things, not minute, but also fits perfectly in the tale that is being woven before our eyes. I'm like, what are it's just reasons to get upset at Will Ospreay. That's what I'm boiling it down to. Because there's no one There's no other reason. There's no other reason for this. That's all there is to it. That was the wildest one that I've seen. Like there's really a lot of discourse around it. And that bores me. It bores me to hell. Like there is some discourse occasionally where I'm like, okay, there's something to be discussed here. But I'm just like, what the fuck is this really in this circumstance? Of all the things to get upset about, I don't know. That's my thought on it. Raj says Ospreay doesn't move enough numbers to justify a title run. Okay. Okay, good for him. Good for Raj. Should anyone show the Wembley tickets? I don't know. I don't know. Who moves tickets in this day and age? And I'm legitimately asking this. Who moves tickets in this day and age in pro wrestling? There's not a lot of people who do. We have seen recently that Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay are ticket movers. We have seen recently that Saya Kamatani is a ticket mover. I'm already drawing a blank. Because, the thing is that, these people who talk about, oh, this person can't move tickets, I was like, Roman Reigns, even at the height of his impossibly long reign, was not pushing that many tickets himself. Like, I can't remember the show off the top of my head. I think it was some kind of house show, and the tickets weren't moving all that quickly. And then WWE were like, or all that well, and we were getting closer to the event. And then WWE said, oh, Roman Reigns is going to show up. And that didn't move any tickets, really. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Roman Reigns is a great ticket mover for WWE. The bloodline thing got people invested, but it wasn't Roman Reigns. Because Roman Reigns had been at the top of the company for a long fucking time before the bloodline thing connected. Let's not forget recently, Conrad Thompson and Eric Bischoff both agreed that Roman Reigns is quite possibly the most overrated WWE champion ever. I have a tendency to agree. So, look, CM Punk is their current champion. What kind of numbers is he moving? Under his championship reign right now, WWE has been experiencing a downturn in business. I don't think he justifies that. I don't think he justifies being a champion himself. It's all kind of bullshit. It's all really, really, really kind of bullshit. And, like we said, always reasons to go after people. And Twitter is free. Twitter is a free app. And Raj Giri says a bunch of nonsense. He like, I don't think he's dumb. I think he acts stupid. because he's a blind. He's still he has inherent nostalgia and feels like a little child. You know, it rekindles his little childlike spirit when he thinks about WWE, and he doesn't want people saying bad things or trying to take food out of the mouths of WWE employees, and because he has some kind of weird parasocial relationship with it. He really does. He really does, by the way. The new level will be fumbled like the Hurt Syndicate. That's a take. Have I, for those of you who pay attention, at the very least, when we talk about sometimes things going on in AEW and why isn't this person on TV and whatnot, you remember not that long ago I was telling you how there's a feeling of cooperation, especially in the higher levels of talent, people at the top of the main event, where everyone is kind of looking out for the best interests of the company first and foremost. It's a very unique thing. I've talked to you about this. I don't know if you recall. But that's the kind of environment that exists right now at the top, where everyone's kind of jockeying and not looking out for each other necessarily, but everyone's like, yeah, this is the right thing to do at this moment here. This is the right thing to do at this moment here. Some guys may have been a little too protective of their spots at the top, and it may have blown up in their face a little bit, and they've course corrected. And there's I don't want to say that there's necessarily harmony, but there's an understanding, a code to some degree that that we do something for at the top of the card that will benefit everyone, because then everyone reaps the benefits. We get, if the promotion is more successful, then we can make more money. More money means raises, and so on and so forth, more opportunities. Everyone benefits from the build, right? I had someone tell me, like, straight up in that regard, like, absolutely, practically, I'm practically word for word, but I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have the quote right in front of me. I had someone tell me, those who aren't open to working cooperatively on that level aren't much on TV. And that person didn't name names, but did say, you can figure that one out by yourself. So it's interesting that what I am not saying is that, I heard that the Hurt business, the Hurt Syndicate, are not being featured on TV because they're not playing along and being nice, type of thing. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, look, I was told this, and coincidentally, the Hurt Syndicate are no longer being featured on AEW Dynamite, and they're now opening the pre-show. And here's the thing: it's like if the new level become like that, I don't think Tony Khan will have any issues giving them less TV time. I don't think he cares. I think what he cares about is having a united locker room, people getting along, people working towards the success of the company, as opposed to people who are just out for themselves. Because, look, if anything, there a few years ago, with certain people in AEW, I think it became a learning experience for Tony. And I think one of the things the locker room looks out most for is for people who will be there for the group, for the good of the show, before putting themselves first. So again, I don't know. I'm absolutely not saying, not even close to saying, oh, Hurt Syndicate are off because they're rubbing people the wrong way or whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I am sort of putting 1 + 1 together and making assumptions, which aren't necessarily good. They're assumptions, but I'm at least, I'm not treating this as if it was concrete or real or a reality or whatnot. Anyway. So, what did they fumble with the Hurt Syndicate? I don't know. I just think it's weird. I just think it's weird that these guys who were featured on Dynamite for weeks end up being in the pre-show teaming with the fucking Costco guy. I thought that was weird. You know what else I thought was weird? The tag team get together after Cope and Christian retained their titles. Even fucking FTR showed up in their mechanics shirts. But not the Hurt Syndicate. They were nowhere to be found. I found that curious. I found that weird. Look, I like me Shelton Benjamin as much as the next guy. I'm not made out of wood. I like Bobby Lashley enough. I think he's still tremendous for a huge guy like that. Getting up there in age, he looks spectacular. Sometimes you just want a big muscle guy coming in to just destroy people. Sometimes you just want that. So I'm not sitting here in glee saying, haha, they're not on TV, fuck them. Wish them the best. Look, I don't know what to tell y'all, okay? I don't know what to tell y'all. Hey, D. Owens, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. D. Owens also happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Happy posts all in day to you as well. And Ross and Found, nice to see you, man. It has been a while. 52 months a member here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Jesus Christ, man. Good to see you. Looking in every wrestling chats for Flair's robes. What's happened to Flair's robes? Is there a thing? Did he sell his robes? Did he lose his robes? He's been posting some very sad videos recently. Like he had some kind of medical condition, and our boy Ric Flair is not looking any better. Cody Rhodes, Danhausen dressed as Cody Rhodes, Punk, and Ricky Saints are all over the WWE house shows. Are we in a downtime in wrestling? Maybe for WWE? Danhausen dressed as Cody Rhodes. Yeah, that'll put the butts in seats. They, being the Hurt Syndicate, really fucked up that MJF program last year. It was an interesting thing. I think Max really wanted to do something. Yeah, I think Max had a certain idea, and they didn't quite jive with that idea, I would say. Maybe. That's my impression at the very least. Hurt Syndicate shouldn't be booked on the show because I personally don't want Bobby Lashley on my television. Spoken like a real AEW fan. Absolutely do and will not miss the Hurt Syndicate. Well, there you go. I'm on an island, I guess. I don't think they're going to have any issues with the new deal, though. Not the new deal, the new level. I don't think they're going to have any issues with the new level. Why don't we go down this article off of Post Wrestling that just recaps the big talking points of the post-show media scrum. How about that? Just just a little quick rundown here. After all, John Pollock was there in London. Shortly after AEW's All-In card wrapped up at Wembley Stadium, the promotion hosted a live post-show media scrum, the 2-hour presser, which included appearances from many of the biggest names on Sunday's pay-per-view show, streamed live on YouTube. You can catch the broadcast below. We could, but we're gonna listen to your briefing. Was it Jack Wanden? Yeah, Jack Wanden. There we go. Tony Khan was hush-hush about where All In will take place in 2027, but was able to at least confirm that he hopes to do another show at Wembley Stadium someday. Quote, "We will definitely bring AEW back to Wembley Stadium if they'll have us again," unquote. Which reminds me, I mean, look, I think it's not a good idea to do back-to-back shows in Wembley. I think it's good to circulate, and then you come right back around and whatnot. I think that's a good idea. But that also leads me on to something else. Didn't they announce during the show that AEW Dynasty next year was going to be in February, right? That's what they announced. February generally is Revolution. So I got to thinking, why did they do that? Why would you move like one of your tentpole shows in Revolution, right? Why would you move that for Dynasty? I know, like, ultimately you can still stack up a card. You could stack up a huge Revolution card and call it Dynasty, and that'd be, it is what it is. But there is name recognition when it comes to Revolution. It's one of the big AEW pay-per-views of the year. So, as I'm sitting there going, well, why? Why would they do that? And then it sort of dawned on me that Dynasty's it's the April pay-per-view, right? That's usually where it's been slotted, correct? It's in April. What also happens in April? WrestleMania. What's special about next year's WrestleMania? Taking place in Saudi Arabia. So am I sort of going off track here in thinking, chat, that maybe, just maybe, they're bumping the big name the big name pay-per-view, the recognizable name Revolution, one that has become synonymous with great wrestling and a great pay-per-view in AEW. Would they be moving that to cover for the missing North American wrestling WrestleMania weekend? And are my expectations and those of many other of my contemporaries, are those expectations all going to come to a head where AEW is going to get like a big weekend treatment, and we're going to get a WrestleMania weekend type of deal, but with but centered around this big AEW tentpole match that's going to happen somewhere in the United States to make do for WrestleMania going to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia? Is that what's going to happen? It's starting to feel like it. I'm starting to feel like AEW is going to do the WrestleMania weekend deal, but around Revolution, and we're going to have a couple of days of promotions lining up and coming into town, and I'm sort of feeling it. And this just might be in a bigger venue than one would expect. And they might just go to New Orleans with this, you know? I'm just saying this is all very curious, right? And look, and Tony, of course, cagey in this situation here, where he says, in 2027, we hope to do another show at Wembley Stadium someday. We'll definitely bring AW back to Wembley if they'll have us again. But he didn't say next year, and I don't think he'll do that next year. I think next year he's going to try and take advantage of the fact that the market leader has alienated North American wrestling fans, and will do something big on American soil while they go and have their little show for the oil barons. 2 nights of Saudi Arabia. Kind of feel like that. Look, it's all speculatory, of course. When asked about the gate for the event by Post's John Pollock, Khan said it should be somewhere around $6 million and an attendance of close to 50,000, with a final count from ticket estimator service WrestleTix calculated that AEW distributed 47,000 seats for the event via Ticketmaster. And I kind of, I talked about this on the review a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if AEW ends up announcing 50,000 people with, counting every heartbeat in the building type of thing. Not just people who paid to be there, like wrestling promoters should do. It's like, you're a living human person in this venue during our show. Well, we'll count you. Click, click. We'll count you, people behind the concession stand. Clink, 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 clink. Oh, you guy who mops here. Click, click. Did I count you earlier in another bathroom stall? Maybe, but it doesn't matter, type of thing. So yeah, this is extremely successful. This is extremely, extremely successful. And they can argue, who I'm talking about, till they're blue in the mouth, talking about how much of a disaster it is, how they dropped from 80,000 a couple of years ago to this, and so on and so forth. But since you have, a functional frontal cortex, and you don't necessarily have an agenda to push, you, the smart person right now, the A+ audience to this D-list podcast, you will understand that putting 47,000 people in a stadium to watch professional wrestling is a success. Holding a show that makes $6 million at the gate is a success. And anyone saying the opposite is either has an agenda or is a dummy or is a combination of both. One doesn't exclude the other. All my years on planet Earth, I can speak with authority here. You can have an agenda and be fucking stupid at the same time. It's in fact, more often than not, they go hand in hand. So, there's no argument to be had. Anyone who wants to try and make an argument is, like I said, they either have an agenda to push or they're fucking stupid. And that shouldn't be entertained. It shouldn't be entertained. Like we often say, especially when it comes to the Raj Giris and the Eric Bischoffs, you're like, we just shouldn't pay attention to them, right? Well, there's a lot of that happens. In this specific case here, in this very, very specific pointed case right here, we should not give any air to people arguing that this show was not successful, that it was not a success, Sure, the numbers are down. Not as great as the very first time that they showed up in Wembley Stadium. They were never going to make 80,000 again. They were never going to make $80,000, 80,000 people in the stadium again. That doesn't make sense. Because the first time anywhere, you get the excitement, right? You get the novelty of the first time coming to town, so everyone rushes in. It's the new shiny toy. Then, just naturally things scooch down. That's just natural. So you can't if you look at this and you say, big failure AEW, you're a moron. You're a moron. I hope someone clips this and uses it against someone who is making these types of claims. Because it's very simple. Look, here's the clip. Here's the clip. You want to, hey, you there, are you saying that $47,000, excuse me, let's start over, okay? Okay, here's the real clip this time. Hey, you, are you saying that 47,000 people in a stadium is a failure? That $6 million out of gate is a failure? Hey, you're some kind of stupid. Yeah, you're some kind of soft-boiled head. Like, hopefully you go outside wearing a hockey helmet. Holy smokes. You got to be able to, hopefully you don't operate heavy machinery in your day job. Jesus Christ. You're free to use that. You can't claim any aspect of TNA a success and also claim $6 million gate a failure. No, you can't. Exactly. That makes no sense. It makes no sense. You can't go around saying, oh, they're doing they're going around doing great with their fuck off. And then turn around and say that these people, this company put 47,000 people into an arena. Now, all the dopes are just looking at this and like, well, it's half the stadium. Well, first of all, not really. But second of all, they're just looking at the empty seats. Thank you, Hikaru. Thank you, Hikaru. Member for 8 months of the channel. I appreciate your support. Yes, that's a kiss for you. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for being here. Please use it all as much as you want. They're looking at the empty seats as opposed to looking at the full ones. Like, I mean, this is smooth brain bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. So please do not give this any air. There's nothing to back up here. There's no argument to be made with these people. They're dumb and they have an agenda or they have an agenda. It's just as simple. It's just as simple as that. But Eric Bischoff can sit around and complain about the show. He only wished he could do $6 million gates. He only wished he could do $6 million gates back in the day when he was handling WCW, and maybe the company would still be in business today. Let's see what else. Tony Khan said he didn't plan or budget the new level joining AEW prior to their release, but thought that the duo, quote, fit what we do perfectly, unquote, and chose to go after signing them. I didn't plan or budget. We didn't have the money for this, but I'm a billionaire. Then, that's how it reads to me, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. Like, people give him shit that he's going around paying, signing all these people and whatnot. It's like, I don't give a shit. I would probably do the same. I'd probably create my TEW fantasy right before my eyes. That's likely what I'd do too. Newly crowned AEW World Champion Will Ospreay was in a reflective mood when he appeared at the presser. He discussed how hard the week has been, mentioning how much he felt all in was on him. Quote, I've put so much pressure on myself to get to this moment. I was so terrified of letting so many people down. In the end, Ospreay said this weekend was his love letter to British wrestling. Ospreay got emotional when asked what his 16-year-old self would think when looking at how far he's come. I'd be very happy, Ospreay said, fighting back tears. AEW Women's World Champion Mercedes Moné confirmed during her scrum that she suffered a broken nose during her match with Willow Nightingale. She mentioned that stitches were required to close up the cut on the bridge of her nose, which was visible during the broadcast, and that made everything cooler. It sucks that she got injured for real, like, you know, it's an injury. That sucks, but you know, thank you, Mercedes, for your service. That made the match so much cooler. It really was. And you could tell it was hard way too. It's like, yes. God, I love that match. I loved it so much. It really lived up to my expectations. I loved the build. I fucking loved the build to that match. It really was the match I was most excited to see. And boy, did those wrestlers deliver. Holy cow. Moné reflected on All In 2023 when she was in attendance for AEW's event at Wembley Stadium before officially signing with the company. Quote, I knew when I was watching the show, I'm like, I want to be here next year, unquote. Of course. there really wasn't any doubt. Kofi and Austin Creed, the new level, reflected on what it has been like to join the AEW roster. It feels amazing, Kofi said. It is completely surreal, and I've been saying this all day. It feels like a dream, this crazy dream, where all these people that I've seen from a different world from afar, and now I get to see them up close. I get to see people from our past lives. Tremendous stuff. TNT champion Darby Allin discussed having Steve Borden be able to do a spot with his father Sting during his match against Kevin Knight tonight. Quote, the fact that Sting and his son could have this moment at Wembley on top of this ladder, I don't know if I could put into words the fact that they could share that in front of everybody. Oh, we kind of need you to try. Hey, where are we going? Stay there. We kind of need you to try a little bit here, Darby. Allen said he wants to continue helping Borden as a wrestler, saying, quote, everything Sting gave me in my career, I want to give to Steven. And that's a very, very lovely intention, quite honestly. And, you know, it continues to show just how important using Sting to get Darby over was. And Darby recognizes it. And look, it truly was the best use of Sting in this company. And Sting would have his tag team matches, never singles matches. He'd have his tag team matches with Darby, and Sting would do something completely nuts. And you'd be like, he shouldn't be doing this, but there he goes doing it. And really had the final run that a lot of guys in pro wrestling dream of it. And it's cool that it wasn't just all kayfabe, that it wasn't all for show. That legitimately these guys took a shine to each other. They got along great. You know, Sting imparted whatever advice, and Darby just gobbled it all up. He was like, well, I'm going to help your guy. I'm going to help your kid get his foot in the business here. We're going to do this moving forward together. I'm like he said, I'm going to give back everything to Steven that Steve gave to me. Sting gave to me. So yeah, I think that's cool. So Stephen Borden Jr. is going to be, it's all going to be in Darby's hands, and he's going to he's going to do everything in his power to get El Hijo del Sting over. He's going to do everything in his power to do that. Yeah, like, you remember when Sting was called over to Japan to wrestle in one of Kaiji Muto's final matches, right? Well, he brought Sting. He brought Darby. Sting brought Darby with him. And I thought, like, then I'm like, okay. Like, that was the moment to me where I was like, okay, these guys really, there is a legitimate relationship between each other. It's not just, it's not just for show. And you've got Sting going, yeah, I know, I'm going to go and I'm going to bring my protege Darby. I'm going to bring my guy. I'm going to bring this kid who's on the come up. that I'm looking out for. Darby has benefited so fucking much from it all. Conan Allen teased having a TNT Championship Open Challenge Series, which could begin as soon as this Wednesday if he can be medically cleared in time. I think that's what we're doing, right? I think that's pretty much the expectation, is that Darby's going to start a TNT Challenge run. Anyway, those are some notes. Are we missing anything big? I feel like, there was Creed who was talking about, there was Creed who was talking about, feeling like he didn't belong anymore in WWE. Hang on, maybe I should go find the quote. There's the quote, because I thought that one was pretty interesting. I thought it was a good quote. Let me see if I can. I mean, I know I'll be able to find it. Just find it quickly is the name of the game here. Can we do a search? Or is this okay? Here we go. Okay, here it is. Hey, whatever happened to the Creed brothers? Are they still goofing around on WWE? Are they still doing that? 'Cause I like the Creed brothers. So again, when asked by John Pollock about their departure from WWE during the All In 2026 media scrum, Austin Creed compared it to relationships with other people. And he said the following: I always think about this like personalities and relationships. Different people have different personalities. Those personalities can grow. Sometimes they grow together. Sometimes they grow apart. There's no bad. There's no good. You are excited about the opportunities you had, the things that you learned, but that relationship no longer was the one we felt we needed to be in. Creed talked about the tag team division in AEW, saying being a tag team wrestler was something he wanted to do when he was a child, loving the idea of helping his brother and teammate. Quote, so to be able to come to a place that admires that wants to cultivate that with legendary tag teams, with young tag teams, so when those legendary ones are gone, the younger ones are fulfilling the prophecy and they're keeping everything going. That's what's important to us. So to be able to come here and do that, and that is why we're here. So 2 good quotes there. Can you imagine, like, if we go back a couple of bit, right? I don't think it's a stretch in any shape or form, right? I don't think it's a stretch for people to think, to have believed that the New Day were going to be WWE lifers, right? I don't think it's a stretch to have thought that. It makes a lot of sense. And for them to basically say, hey, you know what? Things change, people change, and those personalities can grow, and sometimes they grow together, sometimes they grow apart. And you're like, you're excited about the opportunities you had, the things that you learned, but that relationship no longer was the one we felt we needed to be in. Can you imagine how much stuff has changed in WWE? That these guys who is quite essentially had a job for life in that company, come around and they're like, yeah, you know what? We didn't feel like it was special anymore. Didn't feel like it was the place we wanted to be anymore. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? I think it's kind of wild. I think it's kind of wild. I, for one, welcome these two guys in the company, if only to see what they'll be able to do, with, released, unshackled, I guess, out of the stable, out of the circus, and then just like hit the ground running. I'm very much looking forward to see what's going to happen. And I mean, you got a great overview of the tag team division at the end of the show, and you're like, man, kind of rocks. And this ain't bad at all. And like he said, that's not even mentioning the young guys on the come up, like Top Flight. That's hilarious to me. You still got guys like Top Flight. Sometimes, not often, but I sometimes talk about Top Flight, and it's like, when are they going to do something? What's holding them back? What is keeping AEW from going, yes, the floor is yours, Top Flight? I mean, they gave a shot to Private Party. I don't understand why Top Flight can't get that opportunity. I really don't. And they're still treated like this. They're, by commentary and everyone, they're still treated the same as they were when this company started, since they've been there on day one. I don't quite get it. Lads and lassies, I don't. Lasses, not lassies. Lassies is a dog. Lads and lasses, I don't quite get it. I don't quite understand. Am I missing anything? I don't think so, right? I'm trying to think back, but I think those are the principal notes. I'm just happy. Like I feel like All In is arriving at a time where it landed and it punctuated a bunch of angles and feuds and storylines. And I feel like, okay, finally I feel like it's time for a refresher. Now we're cleansing the board and we're going in a bunch of new directions. And I think that from a viewership point of view, from a guy like me, I'm like, cool. I'm glad we're gonna try out a bunch of new stuff because we got a bunch of new stuff to try out. So I'm looking forward to the future here. The WWE not being able to figure out how to use the New Day for their audience as a fumble, as the kids say. Hell yeah, now that's a fumble. Now that's a fumble. Not knowing what to do with the New Day. A trio, 3 guys, a team that has been over for the better part of a decade with this company, no matter how stale you might have thought the act was, there always was a little something just to keep them a little refreshed, a little something. Anyway, Austin Creed looks tremendous. I don't know if we mentioned this. Like, physically looks incredible. Best shape of his career. They would have stayed there forever if WWE didn't mess with their money. True. I mean, that is surely a factor. But you also have to, I'm going to give these guys the benefit of the doubt. But of course, this, at this point, it's a pure hypothetical because none of us know these guys. We're not in their brains. But I'm going to give these guys the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to, because these are creative dudes. These are guys who, under Vince always kind of had a certain control over what they did and said. Big E would be Big E, and you're pretty sure these things weren't scripted. And you always felt like they sort of had a certain command of what they did. And then the heel turn happens, and everyone was kind of looking forward to it. First promo was good. And then they did nothing. And then at some point you're like, what the fuck is this? Like at some point you as a wrestler, as someone who is creatively minded, you're like, why would I stay somewhere that doesn't foster my talents, what I have to bring to the table, or is ready to discard it? You know? That's all very curious to me. It's something that I'm like if I got to sit down with either of these two dudes and was like, okay, gloves off, we can talk about anything. Cool. We're going to sit down and you're going to tell me about your real reasons for leaving WWE. Was it the money? Was it because we were creatively unfulfilled? And we're going to go back. You're going to tell me, you're going to talk. I want you to talk about the day that Vince came up to you and said, hey, Brock is going to squash you for your world championship, Kofi. I want you to walk me through that. We're going to go deep here. You know, I don't do interviews really anymore, but like if I had an opportunity and there's not many wrestlers where I'm like, ooh, I'd love to talk to, but talking to the New Day, either of them or both of them together, I'd get kind of excited. That's something where I'm like, I'm going to sink my teeth into this one and we're going to get into the nitty gritty. Very excited. I'd be very excited. Give Top Flight their flowers. The Warren Hayes show is amazing. I mean, look, I think Top Flight is not perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like, do something with them. That's all. You know, that's all. I heard there's rumors going around that they might be heading to Junior Tag League in a couple of weeks now. Good for them. And then I was like, wait. Is Darius Martin still considered a junior? Was that mean? Do ratings Discourse predict Dynamite's total viewers for this week? 9,000 K. I don't know. What? I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do ratings Discourse. I leave that to other people. And I mean, what's the point of ratings Discourse? Like, didn't Nielsen change its methodology again last week? Didn't they do another change? Like, they've been changing every fiscal quarter, for fuck's sake. No one's able to follow this shit properly, and you can't do year over year because they're changing all the time. We need another way. I think we need to dump Nielsen. There's got to be something else. There's got to be someone else. You got to be monitoring in another way. Oh, wait, that's the thing. Hey, Tony Khan said, talked about the viewership on Max, right? The biggest viewership since on Max for a pay-per-view since they started. That's what he said, right? Something to that effect. Fuck, now I got to find the quote. He said something to that effect. I'm just going to get the right quote here so I'm not saying complete and utter bullshit. Is this it here? No, that's from 2025. Why can't I find it? Massive Gate. Or did I dream this? Okay, I think I got it here. No, that's just I want a real quote. Well, I don't have a quote, but that's it. He touted AEW's high ratings from Wednesday, then said today's show had the most buys ever on HBO Max. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd love to know the numbers. I think we would all love to know the numbers. So, you know, it's just been a surprise. It's been a surprise all around. Been a success. Why didn't I say surprise? It's been a success all around. Okay, there we go. Never heard a peep from Kofi after jobbing to Brock in 6 seconds. I don't think they're going to be an issue in AEW. No, and here's the thing. How long have the New Day and the Elite been trying to work with each other, right? How long has this been happening? There's that tweet from the Bucks from years ago, right? Like in 2019, 2020, like some old tweet from the Bucks that said, one day, someday, we will wrestle the New Day and everyone will rejoice, right? Isn't that something like that? Well, we're really fucking close. And a lot of people are already rejoicing at the prospect of it happening. So imagine when the match does happen. Kofi being a punching bag for years in WWE and going to AEW to say that doesn't work for me, brother, would be incredible. And I don't think that's what they're there for either. It would be kind of insane if he turns into a Malachi Black situation, right? I think they're going. I think they're here to go, and they've always seemed like self-starters, even there in WWE, talking about the new level. I agree, but they weren't looking for new wrestling pastures. They just knew their self-worth. I agree, and I don't have an issue with this in the slightest to take. Exactly like you said. Know what you're worth. The guy comes in and says, "Well, here's your contract." And you get undercut and you're like, no. And then go off to get a better contract. No issues with that in the slightest. Good on you. I want to make that clear. I'm not saying, oh, they did this for the love of the game only. No, I'm not that stupid or naive. I'm not a soft-boiled head here. Anyway. He said they've had the most amount of max pay-per-view buys for All In and that the number keeps going up in that regard. Good. I'm glad it's all working out. And this company is successful. I don't know what to tell you. This company is successful. It's highly successful. It's crazy successful. They're on cable TV. They're on cable TV week after week. There's 4 hours of programming on split between two different networks on television. Next Level Young Bucks is going to be the wackiest Reseda match ever. Yes, except not in Reseda. It's in a better overall venue. Anyway, see, we're in this post All In glow, and that's what this stream was about today. I've got some other stuff lined up on the docket tonight. I mean, we've got some time. I had if it's successful, why is Warner Brothers canceling them and they're going under? Yeah, exactly. I've got this. Okay, the Eddie Kingston Hechicero match from this past Friday on CMLL, the main event on in Arena Mexico on this past Friday. That's been the center of a lot of discussion. It's really, really been the center of a lot of discussion. When I woke up on Saturday morning, that's all. Everything was alive with it. All my group chats were alive with it. My lucha loving pals, they were incensed about the main event and how poor it was, and so on and so forth. So you know, I decided to watch it. Like, I knew I wasn't. I see, typically in my routine, as many of you know, I watch Lucha Libre on Sunday mornings, and I knew, well, you know, couldn't watch Sunday, right? There was other things, you know. So it's like, okay, so I still have to watch the rest of the show, but I was like, okay, I'll watch the main event. I'll see if it's as bad as everyone's making it out to be. Because, look, to be perfectly transparent, there is, like, my lucha pals, my friends who are really, really into Lucha Libre, are part of that consortium, that group of people, group of lucha fans who are very upset at the idea that CMLL is including more and more foreigners, particularly from AEW, coming in every week, taking up spots and doing things that are transforming in some ways the essence of a traditional Lucha Libre Friday night show. Little things like getting rid of captain's rules and captain's rules matches and stuff like that. So, you know, I understand, like, you know, I get their grievances. If my favorite wrestling promotion was transforming and changing in ways that I really didn't care for, and ended up, like, you know, that a partnership ended up being a detriment to what I enjoy watching. Well, yeah, you know, I understand. One of the things that I don't want to see happen in pro wrestling ever is for everything to get homogenized. There should be flavor. There should be difference and diversity, different ways of doing things. Not everything has to be like WWE. Let's be honest. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But WWE thinks that everything should work their way. So I took a lot of this frustration that I was seeing with a bit of a grain of salt, because I'm like, these people are already upset overall that there's too much AEW in this, and every time I see a Friday night Arena Mexico show headlined by you know, let's say Mystico, and then some AEW guy or guys, I was like, they're not going to be happy about this. And again, I understand. I completely understand. If they want to watch American wrestling, they can watch American wrestling, but they choose to watch Lucha Libre because they don't have to deal with American wrestling. And now American wrestling is coming into their CMLL. I understand, okay? That's the thing, is that I understand the basis of the argument. So I watched the match, and it's bad. Like, it's not a good match. Is it an absolutely all-time terrible match? No. You know, I watched Hogan versus Piper in the cage in real time, and that is an all-time terrible match. It's not a good match, but I think I think once the dust settles, we're going to remember the match mostly for what it represented and the spot it was in, as opposed to the quality itself. Look, it wasn't good, okay? We can't sit around and say we can't sit around and say oh, this wasn't so bad, people are all overreacting. Like, you look at this calmly, you know, you distance yourself from all the discourse. This was not a good match. And Eddie Kingston was not good in it. And Hechicero did his damnedest. But Eddie, who is already not particularly well known for his cardio, was put to the test here. Working a CMLL main event, CMLL, which is, cardio central, right? If you've ever watched, that kind of stuff. They just go back and forth really, really hard on each other. Eddie was not ready for this environment. And I don't necessarily think he was ready for the elevation, right? Because Mexico City is rather above sea level, and wrestlers who go to visit will talk about that. They'll say they'll talk about how the elevations really, hits them in the respiratory system, and that's it, So, but even outside of that, even outside of Eddie sucking wind the entire time, his gas tank was completely empty to the point that they called an audible for sure. I'm convinced that they called an audible on the match. It was like, no, we got to end this now. I'm done. I'm spent. And then Hechicero got into the finish, and because it came a little out of nowhere. And it wasn't good. And I think most people were in agreement to say, this is a weird match to main event. Eddie Kingston in the main event of Arena Mexico is a very bizarre decision. Now, this has nothing to do with Tony Khan. This is Salvador who sat down and was like, bring me Eddie Kingston. Yes, let's do this. It's a piss poor decision from CMLL to do this in the first place. And why did they do this in the first place? Well, because we'll talk about it in a little bit, but it's been a little while now that CMLL fans want their world heavyweight champion to be treated a little more like American promotions treat their world heavyweight champion. They want, because in CMLL, the World Heavyweight Championship is like, and championships in general in CMLL, they mean jack shit. The most important things in CMLL are masks and hair. No one gives a shit about the titles. The titles are extremely secondary. It's just, it's nonsense. An apuestas match will always rank higher than any title match for interest, for drama. It will always be better. So the unfortunate thing here is that there's a lot of context that baffles CMLL fans and even baffles me, right? Let's add a little context to this all, which just molds a statue of bizarreness. It just puts together like a puzzle of really weird shit that happened. Look, just the week before, Eddie Kingston was pulled from AEW, from active competition, was pulled from the Continental Cup Challenge tournament because of medical issues. A week later, he's fucking main eventing an Arena Mexico show. I don't understand exactly what happened. Now, they were talking about, he had a heart scare. Excuse me, not a heart scare. I have heart scares. He had a health scare, and he feels a lot better this week. And I'm like, this is really fucking weird. This is really, really weird. I do not understand how you go from 1 week being pulled from some shows, and then the next week you're like, yeah, you're back. That's very strange. Being put in the main event is extremely strange as well. It's almost as if Salvador was misinformed. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. CMLL Medical cleared him for what it's worth. And Eddie seems to be saying, no, I'm fine. I'm ready to go. I mean, we didn't hear anything from AW Medical. Look, lots of speculation. I don't want to speculate on a guy's health, and especially Eddie. Like, I don't want to speculate on what the issue can be. There's a lot of stuff that's been going around, and I don't want to touch that. I just find it strange that he was so bad one week that he had to get pulled from the tournament that he was in. Had to add a match on Death Before Dishonor to sort of fill his spot and whatnot. Good match though. Daniel Garcia and Adam Priest. That was really good. And he goes and he headlines Arena Mexico. So that already was a bunch of red flags. Eddie has a lot of qualities. I talk about it enough. He has a lot of qualities, and his work rate is not one of them. This is a guy who has a particular set of skills, and that he's very good in that particular set of skills. And I think his set of skills is not well suited for a lucha libre audience. I think that's the fairest way to put it. Right? And let's be honest, Eddie's greatest skill is his talking. That is the thing that gets him into the building every single time. It's all been very, very strange decisions to get to that point. And then on top of that, we get the news, which also infuriated CMLL fans, that CMLL sellout streak ended with the Hechicero Eddie Kingston main event. Let's read this article here out of the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. CMLL posted to social media shortly after the event took place that tickets were still available. If the show ultimately did not sell out, it would mark the first time that's happened for a Friday night CMLL event at Arena Mexico since May 18, 2026. CMLL had sold out 15 consecutive Friday night shows in the venue, entering Friday night's event with the streak beginning on May 15. 15 consecutive weeks of sold out Arena Mexico. 16,000 plus. The August 28th show featured Eddie Kingston challenging Hechicero for the CMLL World Heavyweight Championship. Hechicero retained his title in the main event against Kingston in a match that received some poor reviews online. That's putting it mildly. Lucha Blog, it's all one word. It's all one word. It's not two words. It's not Lucha Blog, it's Lucha Blog. It's not two words. Lucha Blog, I'm going to pronounce it like you're supposed to. Lucha Blog wrote about the match. Quote, Hechicero beats Eddie Kingston to retain the CMLL Heavyweight Championship. I forgot to hit the timer, but it was less than 10 minutes. Match did not click and didn't get over. I thought there was a big run coming at the end, but it instead just sort of ended. Eddie Kingston's participation in Arena Mexico has been hard to watch. The match is short, the finish odd, and I think it never managed to capture anything interesting alongside Hechicero, who ends up more harmed than bolstered with this title defense. Wrote Roxenato. This Eddie Kingston Arena Mexico disaster class will be talked about for a long time. Deanna Perazzo level bad outing out of that guy. Wow, wrote King of the North, friend of the show, who is not here tonight. Evan getting the big quote. So whoa, what's going on? What's going on here? Get back here. So on that note, we're going to switch over to Lucha Blog. Cubs fan wrote about it again today, and And I'm going to read what Cubs had to say about this whole situation now that we're a few days removed. This was not a sellout, talking about the show. It didn't visually appear to be that close to a sellout. And I agree. Like the shots that I saw of the arena, that is true. The upper levels had open wide areas on camera all night, and that's without looking elsewhere. It was a good turnout by per 2025 standards. I wrote 1,387 words about Hechicero Kingston on Saturday. By Monday, it feels like everyone's already moved on. I take no joy in digging into an open wound, so I'm trying a shorter version. I personally, Cubs, if you're listening, I personally am starting a movement today where I want the Cubs. I want the Cubs cut released. I want the Lucha Blog cut of your thoughts on Eddie Kingston Hechicero released. Hashtag release the Cubs cut. The purpose of that match, the reason it was in the main event spot, is CMLL giving in to fan requests to treat their heavyweight championship more like other promotions do, like I mentioned. CMLL gave those fans a monthly main event title defense of the heavyweight championship against a credible outsider, and those same fans hated it. Made it clear they hated it. Like so much other US stuff that CMLL is importing this year, CMLL doesn't seem to know how it works or how to make it work for them. There was nothing done to get Kingston over or to explain him to the CMLL fans, and an out-of-shape looking guy who looked unhappy to be there had 2 strikes against him before the match started. Kingston deserves his share of the blame too. No one forced him to take the match. It's much more likely he specifically asked AEW to book him in CMLL the way CMLL AEW bookings have gone this year. Once he agreed to work 2026 CMLL, his job was to get himself over in 2026 CMLL, and he either had no plan to do so or an ineffective one. That blame pie is shared with Hechicero, with the CMLL creative team, and with the AEW creative team for putting that match out there and not figuring out a way to make it work. I am in complete agreement with every single word that I just read, just to be clear. The failure of a heavyweight title match also means absolutely nothing in the long run. Kingston probably won't be back on a CMLL show, and that's about it. The unending stream of CMLL shows means a bad match or a particularly good one gets washed away quickly. AEW and CMLL remain great friends, as abundantly clear from how Mystico and Persephone were treated on Friday and how much CMLL posted about it. CMLL will keep trying US wrestling stuff with little idea how to apply it. Maybe CMLL will put more of the blame on Hechicero and give up on those title defenses already. Maybe they'll keep doing it because they do a lot of US stuff. Maybe they would have dropped it anyway, as they drop a lot of stuff. There will be matches that will be worse than Kingston Hechicero, and this will mostly be a footnote to people who debate the quality of Eddie Kingston. Hechicero would normally talk to the press after a match like this. He didn't. The Villanos did earlier. The media seemed to think Hechicero opted out rather than the promotion skipping it, but that wasn't 100% clear. CMLL rarely promotes their Saturday Televisa show, but did promote on Saturday to mention that matches 3, 4, 5, and 6 would air, essentially saying that the main event, there were a couple of other matches that were in there, as you can tell, like matches 1, 2, we're not there, but the main event was not going to air on their Televisa show. Maybe that wasn't meant as a statement of how they felt about the main event, but it's hard to avoid that message. There were no 3 fall matches on the show, not even in the semi-main, which should have been 3 falls by the rules CMLL has been playing by this year. I expect CMLL will ditch 3 fall matches at some point in the next couple of years. I don't want them to, but that fits with all the other changes they've made. I thought maybe this was it, but they were back to normal on Saturday and Sunday. And then the rest of the show. So like I said, I'm in agreement with everything that everything Cubs is speculating about here. It all makes the most sense. And like you said, the blame pie has a lot of slices, and a lot of people should be digging into that pie to have let this happen. This match shouldn't have happened in the first place, but it did. No one made it work. Eddie Kingston shows up and the crowd is like, "Who's this bum?" Essentially. Because they didn't know him. They have no idea who he is. Didn't work to get himself over. And then Eddie works the match. And you get the impression like he should have arrived on the Friday. On the Thursday, excuse me. To get used to the higher altitude. I'm convinced that is one of the reasons that he just like got completely gassed. Because again, like Eddie's he's not known for his high level cardio. He's not exactly, he's not exactly the CrossFit dude here. What was it? CrossFit Jesus was the other guy, right? I mean, he should have arrived in the day previous. He should have got acclimated a little bit. Apparently, he arrived on the Saturday, and it's not a good idea. Not on the Saturday, on the Friday, on the day of. I keep thinking Friday night is on Saturday. Jesus, you dummy. There were just no good reasons for this to happen. There were just no good reasons. And you see what I mean? Like, I think that Cubs is in his article here is making a solid. I think he encapsulated quite a bit the frustrations that CMLL fans have with CMLL right now, is that they're trying to do too many things. They're trying to Americanize the product, and they're not quite sure how to do it. They being CMLL, they're not quite sure how to get around doing it, and that's pissing them off. That's pissing them off. He talks about it like, the 3 falls matches, the captain's rules, like all these things are slowly disappearing. All these things that made CMLL very interesting. And I don't know why they're doing it. Like, we've talked about it before, but it bears repeating. I feel if I'm a pro wrestler working in the United States and I'm like, I would like to work Arena Mexico. I would like to work CMLL. Don't you want to work their flavor? Isn't it more like a thing where you go and it's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do a 2 out of 3 falls match. Let's do a captain's rules match. This is what I want to do. I want to get the lucha libre experience here as a pro wrestler. Right? As opposed to doing exactly what you want to do. I'm projecting, obviously, because there's quite possibly wrestlers are like, I don't understand this shit. It confuses me. Just let me do what I know, type of thing. People have speculated that one of the reasons that CMLL is doing these changes is because of WWE and AAA. They feel like they have to Americanize what they're doing because, they're going to fall to the wayside while AAA, redefines how wrestling works by going entirely into the WWE way of doing it. That CMLL's way of doing things may be perceived as old hat. Traditional might not be the good thing, which is strange when you consider that this promotion last year when the when the announcement of the sale of AAA to WWE was made, that this promotion was choosing to go through choosing to go down the pride path, the build that they made for their character was one based in tradition. They were doing the Made in Mexico stuff, that they were true lucha libre. They had Mystico cut that really great promo that one night when he received an award, I think, or something. Look, it doesn't matter. They turned back to that. They made it their brand, and yet they're becoming more and more Americanized. And we're seeing more and more American guys as opposed to guys from Mexico, right? And I know AEW fans get excited when they see, Bandito's showing up again, and oh my God, the maximum male models and so on. And I understand they get excited. I understand why. It's exciting from your point of view as an AEW wrestler, fan, I should say. And are you really tuning in to CMLL to watch it? I would argue you probably aren't, because the price of entry is kind of steep on the YouTube channel. It's kind of expensive to tune into CMLL. So you're just like in love with the idea of AEW working CMLL more than actually in love with it, because you don't really watch it, I would argue. Not talking about nerds like myself, who watch just about everything. I'm talking about AEW fans. I'm talking about AEW fans. And the CMLL fans, in the meantime, they're like, well, who the fuck are these gringos? Why are they coming into my shit? And why aren't I seeing more Soberano Jr. on Friday nights? Who is this Leo Rush? Where's Neon? And I think that's fair. And sometimes I'm like, sometimes I think of stuff like, well, flip the tables. What if the opposite was happening and CMLL guys kept showing up on AEW? You'd probably be at some point and you're like, hey, this Ultimo Guerrero guy, he's on TV every week here. Where the fuck is Ricochet? Where's Speedball? We're getting the Star Junior guy every week. You know what I mean? It won't happen that way, because just the way the shows are, like CMLL and AEW produce their shows in entirely different ways for entirely different audiences. CMLL makes their shows happen for the 16,000 plus in Arena Mexico, and AEW produces a TV show. So they're two completely different things. So you see, like the discussion about Eddie Kingston, in my opinion, goes a little further than just about Eddie Kingston. I think it's part of the problem, but it's not just an, oh my God, Eddie Kingston fucking stinks. I don't think it's boiling it down to that is going outside of the point. The point being that CMLL fans were already upset. They're not enjoying this partnership as much as AEW fans seem to, even though AEW fans aren't watching CMLL. And that's what's coming forth. And I think there's been a lot of lashing out on top of that with Eddie. And look, I can't even blame someone who would be like, no, man, Eddie Kingston, I think he stinks. I don't want to see him wrestle anymore. I would understand why. I am not one of those people. I like Eddie. I can see his shortcomings, though. I see his shortcomings. I myself saw this as the main event. I'm like, I don't think this is a good idea. And I like Eddie. But then I know I had unpopular thoughts about it on Blue Sky, because no one liked my stuff. I had some unpopular thoughts about it. But you know, like it's kind of like we were talking about earlier to a, you know, in another way where it's like I can like something and recognize its faults. I can recognize its problems. That's what criticism is for, in fact. You know, liking something does not necessarily mean that you wash everything away, that you never spot the bad things, that you're never able to go, I didn't like that so much because you're afraid it might come across as some kind of failure in your personality to do so. You can enjoy things and see fault in them. And sometimes the faults get too much, and that's when you break apart from something. That's when you let it go, you leave it behind. But like I've always said, I am so consistent on this. Criticism, true criticism, always comes from a place of love. Always. So I look at Eddie Kingston, a wrestler that I like, and I can recognize that he's not who he used to be. He's a guy that I root for, but despite it all, I look at the match and I'm like, no, this wasn't good. This just wasn't good. And CMLL fans are absolutely entitled to say to themselves, this was not good. We don't want this. We asked you for something and this is what you give us. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this at all then. I completely understand. To a degree, I'm on their side. I completely get it. Hey, Terra Cross, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Hey, it seems to me it's been a while. Good to see you. Welcome. Deanna wasn't happy about that one, the one about the King of the North comment. Well, she did shit the bed. It was a very bad match. And I think she said to take the Deanna approach and blame asthma. That's what she said, right? She said that she got an asthma attack during the match. And isn't that curious that happened just after Athena herself, and chat pointed it out too. Athena said that during her match with Izuki, she got an asthma attack as well, and she was treated there. Yeah, look, it's exactly like what I said in the Ring of Honor, in the Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor review, when I was talking about the Athena match and talking about her saying, you know, that she had asthma. Look, I've suffered from asthma. It's a really fucking suck thing. So I completely empathize with anyone saying, you know, I have an asthma attack, because I know exactly how that feels, and it is the worst fucking thing. And she got her treatment and all that, you know, and that was great and whatnot. But, and it sucks that it happened in the match. Like, it really does suck that it happened in the match. But it turns out that, you know, regardless of what happened, she you know, she kind of, the match wasn't good, and it's not going to make it better, because I'm talking about the Athena match. The Athena match wasn't bad. Anyway, I'm not getting into that review. But the match didn't get better, is what I'm trying to say, because I found out she had an asthma attack. You know, like, you can feel bad for her having a medical condition during a match, and then also say, but unfortunately the match suffered and it wasn't as good as it was supposed to be. The two can exist. The two are very much possible. So it's the same thing with the Deanna match. You know, she got into the ring, she did her thing, she got an asthma attack. All right, the match is still not good. It's unfortunate, it's awful, but the match was not good. But I'm you know, I sympathize, I empathize. I'm glad she was able to get treatment and that she's okay. Deanna, I'm glad everything worked out. But it doesn't alleviate the match. I can't sit here and say, oh, that was better. Oof, that makes things better. Okay, we're a quarter star more then because of the asthma attack. That doesn't make sense. The match was still bad. And if it was out of her control, that sucks, but it was still bad. It's like the end result is still bad. You know what I mean? It's like you go to take an exam, a test in school or in college, and you were fucking sick for the past 3 nights, 3 days. You were absolutely unable to study. You take your exam and you fail it. Like, wow, but sir, I was so sick I couldn't study. That sucks. I'm sorry. I feel really bad that you weren't able to study for this exam. But your exam is still bad. You still fail. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway. Fred Moreland has been a member for 22 months of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Hello, Fred. How are you? How's it going? Hoo-yah. Hoo-yah to you. Everyone talks about the elevation, and it's at 5,280 feet. Well, that's significant, right? I mean, everyone does talk about the elevation. Everyone does. Everyone does. Is 5,280 not high? I feel like it's high. I feel like it's up. Something that can... Okay, so Denver is at 5,280 feet and Mexico City is 7K. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and you're right, everyone talks about the elevation in Denver, and then you go to Mexico and it's 7,000. Like, I didn't know what the exact height was. I'm not well schooled in that, so. Look, it is what it is, right? Eddie Kingston needs to do a vague cryptic tweet to clear all of this up. Let's keep that going. The one upside is that a CMLL heavyweight champion finally beat a TK-verse wrestler. Talk about a silver lining there. Has Eddie ever worked Grand Slam Mexico? I don't think so. If I went to a CMLL show, I'd want the authentic Lucha Libre experience. Yeah, you do. You should bring Vuvuzelas back. There's not enough noise in those. There used to be so much more noise at CMLL shows, Lucha Libre shows. Eddie Kingston is 44. Is he only 44? I thought it was closer to 50. I thought it was really closer than that. Oh yeah, he's 44. Look at that. I thought he was older. I thought he was closer to my age. Why is CMLL looking at AEW averaging 3,500 fans and saying we have to appeal to this audience? I know! It doesn't make sense. I think honestly, I just think they're terrified of WWE. I think that's what they're most afraid of. Triple H tore his quad in 2001 in a tag match. How'd that go? Don't say who was in it. All right. Okay, fine. Kingston's only previous match in Mexico was in 2018 for TNA as King, squashing Kronos, better known as Panic Clown. Well, there you go. Kingston is younger than me. I'm Dust. He looks so much older. He really, really looks older. Like legitimately older. That's why I thought he was closer to my age. Like he's got the hefty gray, update. I kind of feel like for the first time ever, like my beard is actually filling in, and I think I'm going to keep it growing for a bit. Like I know it's hard to tell because of the lighting and whatnot, and because the places that my beard is usually very thin is filling out with white, so it's not like very convincing. But I'm kind of excited. For the first time in my life, I might actually have a full beard. I might actually have a full beard for the first time in my life. Join the Patreon for daily beard updates. I don't have a Patreon. Well, I do, but it's neglected. Don't join it. Join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Do that instead. That's cool. You get perks like the AEW All In review. And you show a little support for me. The thing with CMLL is they're trying to rapidly adopt TV US things from AEW, but they don't understand how to do those things well. Yeah, that's exactly what we just talked about. Excuse me. Reading the Cubs article, but we broke all of that down. That's their main issue right now. It's just too much of a shock to the system. My suggestion would be leave it all alone. You know, someone pointed out, or at least raised the question. I was like, do you think CMLL is hey, thank you very much for the subscription. I appreciate that. That's very sweet of you. Someone asked, like, do you think that CMLL is making itself more attractive for a purchase from Tony Khan? And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think so. There's no signs of that, really. And why would you change? Like, would Tony Khan really, like, would he look at this as a positive and go, why are you changing all of these things that make you cool? Like, I feel Tony would be like, no, all the things that make you cool should stay there. Don't do that. You know, I don't know. But I don't think it's them, like, becoming more American to ease in a purchase. It doesn't make sense to me. That just doesn't connect. Doesn't help that some of us have been watching him wrestle for what feels like forever. Eddie? Yeah. Yeah, he's been around for a while. What magic elixir did you use to plump out the beard? Wish I knew. Just grit. Just good old-fashioned grit. No, the purchase wouldn't make sense for either side. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. We're done. That's it for tonight, folks. We're gonna wrap this one up. Thank you so very much for showing up tonight in such grand numbers, and with lots of action in the chat as well. I appreciate it tremendously. Hope you enjoyed your Monday night. Now, thank you for the good. I appreciate it. Thank you. I love it when people tell me I did a good job. So yeah, so there will be a a Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast this week, available on all your favorite podcast applications: Apple iTunes, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, it's Overcast, etc. That will be released on Wednesday. We'll be back Thursday with the Mr. Warren Hayes Show weekly Dynamite review. That's not what I call it. And that's why I was sort of hesitating. I was like, what are we talking about? The Dynamite review back on Thursday. Be very interesting to see what happens in this post All In Glow. And then back on Thursday with another live stream. And in the meantime, if you want to get your hands on the AEW All In review, it is available right now for members only of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast. Hit the join button, show a little support for your boy Warren, and then you get access to that. Otherwise, you freeloaders will get that later on this week. Have a great time. Have a great next couple of days until we see each other probably on Thursday. Hope you have a great time. Thank you again so much for showing up today. I'll see you next time.